Hi, my name is Cath Strachan, founder of Include You. Welcome to this webinar, which will cover topics relating to diversity and question if historically using the CV is a contributory factor in inequality and bias in recruitment, and if using an alternative, fairer approach to selection would have a more positive impact on attracting a more diverse workforce. I am sure, like me, that you're surprised that the CV has been around since 1482 and that by 1950 it was mandatory to submit a CV when applying for any vacancy. In the 60s, applicants began adding interests and hobbies to make it more personal. And there was little change until 2003 when LinkedIn was launched, providing a platform where professionals share their experience and where recruiters use this to source candidates for live vacancies. Though I think LinkedIn is still widely used by professionals, YouTube and other social media sites and job boards are widely used. However, it has become difficult for candidates to control who is viewing their personal CV details. It is incredible that a process started in 1482 is still being used in 2018, especially when you consider the significant best practice procedures introduced by HR, which has improved employees' rights across all business sectors. For us to understand how viewing a CV could be contributing to why there is inequality and bias in the recruitment process, we need to look at how we assess the CV. Education. We look at the qualifications, and on many occasions we overlook experience if the person has no degree. We are not taking into account people with special skills that learn in a particular way. For example, candidates with Asperger's or autism. Universities. Having been in recruitment for many years, I know some companies where the hiring managers will only look at candidates educated at a particular university, discounting candidates with the same degree achieved elsewhere in the UK or overseas. Is this fair? Location. Preference is often given to local candidates. I actually sympathise with companies as relocation is expensive. However, if an applicant is willing to uproot themselves and possibly their family, they should have an equal right to be fairly considered. Companies worked for. We look at their past employers, assessing if they have prior experience with a competitor. This may provide a quick appointment, but it can be very short-sighted, as cross-sector recruiting can add value and diversity to your business. The key words, I will cover this in more detail. I know that everyone on this call understands that diversity in the workforce is important and that we need to make changes to achieve government targets before quotas are imposed. There are many reports available on inequality and the pay gap. Topics covered by Energy Jobline, WES, Powerful Women in Energy, and the WISE campaign, to mention just a few. But I think it's important to understand how the CV stimulates us as human beings to be unconsciously biased, especially when faced with huge volumes of similarly formatted CVs, and where you are under pressure to fill vacancies. I know some companies have requested the removal of some identifying indicators from CVs, but I'm afraid that's not enough. It just stimulates our brains to guess the gender, age, etc. Let's look at a CV. At first sight, you may not immediately guess the gender. However, interests and hobbies can lead you to assume the gender is female. You can also guess the age by dates of education. Our energies would be better spent taking guesswork out and assessing every applicant fairly on their suitability for the role. Another reason I feel the CV is unfair is when we're assessing their technical or managerial experience. We have for a long time encouraged candidates to keep their CV to 2 to 3 pages. How can they portray their full technical or managerial experience in 2 to 3 pages? HR have a tough enough job dealing with multiple vacancies throughout the business, some very technical, forcing them into using the keyword search. This is not the best way to recruit the best talent your company deserves. Some of the best senior professionals I know can't write a comprehensive CV capturing their best skills and competencies. You will have guessed I have an issue with keyword search, which I confess I have used as a recruiter. I think the path a job spec takes can lose some of the key criteria on its journey. Let me explain. A technical manager will brief his HRD or HRM, adding preferences not written in the brief. The HRM will brief an HR advisor, who in turn will brief the external recruiters and administrators. Along this path, key hiring criteria and experience can be missed, which leads to talent being lost. One final point on keyword search. Job titles in similar sectors can appear to be the same, but in reality they are completely different. Take an analyst in a chemical plant. They are completely different to that of one in an oil refinery or a pharmaceutical plant, though on a keyword search they will all come up. I think I've made my point, summed up in this famous quote: if we always do what we have always done, you always get what you've always gotten. Now time to move to the possible solution. How useful would it be if we asked the right questions to attract the right talent for every vacancy? Simple. I have worked successfully with bespoke job-specific questionnaires for many years. Some people on this call have actually used them. In the last few years, I have adapted the questionnaire to tackle unconscious bias, anonymizing key identifying indicators to encourage best practice and to be fair to all applicants. I think it's simpler if I take you through a case study where Ofgem's panel decided they would use the process to tackle any unconscious bias and to attract a diverse pool of candidates. I worked with them to capture the key criteria and develop a bespoke questionnaire. On the screen are a few of the questions asked. The good thing about the questionnaire is that you can adapt and ask anything important or relevant to any vacancy. This is an example of the detail you can capture from just one question. The panel found that assessment was easier when faced with all applicants answering questions that were relevant to the vacancy. All candidates, internal, external, advert applicants and My Search candidates completed the online questionnaire where all reference to gender, education, age, nationality were removed. This allowed the assessment to be done on the suitability of their experience to fulfil the role. The candidates on this occasion were anonymised right up until the shortlist interviews, though there is flexibility on this. How can the questionnaire improve the selection process for HR? All applicants are answering the same questions. Technical questions answered in detail to satisfy the technical directors. Examples can be given of their leadership or managerial competencies. This in turn will lead to less talent being lost. In the Ofgem assignment, it attracted 44 candidates. 10 were women, 2 making it to the shortlist. But the most interesting comment was that they were unlikely to have considered the successful candidate, believing that the company they came from was not a particularly good fit. The impact it can make in your business takes guesswork out of assessing experience. It goes a long way to addressing unconscious bias. Candidates are encouraged when they feel the process is fair to everyone. It leaves them with a high opinion of your company, even if they are not successful in this particular assignment. I hope that this gives you food for thought. I am happy to answer any questions now, or feel free to contact me to discuss how I can help you to implement or facilitate this process into your business. Thank you for your attention. Any questions?